Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on the Giants, free agency so far. Talk about some of the players we acquired, some of the players we lost, and then kind of recap on exactly what the Giants improved on and the areas they still need to improve on, which will most likely come through the draft. And so first of all, I kind of want to go over kind of the players we lost first. Kind of get that out of the way. Maybe because that would help understand the players we got, you know what I mean, like some of the players we signed to help explain that. So first off, Julian Love, he ended up signing with the Seahawks on a 2-year $12 million deal. And but I think that's something that surprised me, so I think it surprised a lot of other Giants fans as well. I know we all thought Julian Love was good for us last year, you know what I mean, and I think he's someone who was definitely affordable. Like, I don't think he was overpaid by Seattle. I think $6 million is a proper contract for him. But I mean, I think Shane probably wants to probably get a younger replacement, someone who's a little cheaper. So I think Love's a good but not great player. Definitely someone who I think is replaceable. And we also lost two other offensive linemen. Both we lost Nick Gates to Washington, 3-year $16.5 million deal. We also lost Jon Feliciano, but the contract details of that contract are not public as of right now. And so, I mean, I think, that really leaves a big hole for the Giants. I mean, those are basically our two centers are gone. I mean, I'm not surprised we lost Nick Gates. I mean, I think, 3-year $16.5 million is definitely an overpay for Nick Gates. I mean, I think he's a good locker room guy, but on the field, I don't think he's the best player. But I am very surprised we let Jon Feliciano go, since I thought, with Nick Gates having left, I thought, we would have really tried to keep Jon Feliciano, even though I don't think he's good, but just, have an actual, center and have, a depth position there. Even though if I think, we were to draft a center, which I think is very likely now. I mean, I don't think it would have been a bad idea to keep, Jon Feliciano as a backup, But, I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world we lost him. I think, we definitely needed to improve that in the draft, and now I think we're most likely going to spend a day 1 or day 2 pick on a center. And now with that out of the way, I kind of now wanted to go into some of the free agents we signed, some of the players we acquired. First of all, first off, I have Bobby Okereke, who we signed on a 4-year $40 million deal from Indianapolis, and I think I really like this signing. I think it's a great signing. I mean, we all know the Giants really need a linebacker. I think linebacker was probably your weakest position last year. Players like Jalen Smith, Micah McFadden, just weren't very good, to be honest. Take Crowder as well. And, I think it's a player we really needed to upgrade, really needed to get a starting caliber linebacker, since I don't think we have one on our roster. And we finally got one, I think, in Bobby Okereke. And I'm not saying he's going to be like a Pro Bowler. Probably not. But, it's definitely, a legitimate starter, which is really going to help this defense. And, I think, he's going to fit very well into Wink's system as well. I think he's a very athletic player. He can just move all around the field. I think, it's going to work really well with Wink. I think he's someone who can do some coverage, and I think he's a really good run stopper, and I think, just his athleticism. We're using a lot of different exotic packages. Wink loves, all the exotic blitzes and all these exotic packages and stuff like that. And I think he can fit really well, which I think, is a very good signing for the Giants as well. I really like it. For our second signing, we signed Rakeem Nunez-Roches on a 3-year $12 million deal. He came from Tampa Bay, and he's a defensive tackle, kind of, he's not someone who really has any pass rush, but he's definitely a run stuffer, which I think is really helpful for the Giants. I think we really needed some depth in the defensive line, both the interior and the edges. And, I think one thing about, the two signings of, Nunez-Roches and Okereke, they really helped the run defense, which was really lacking for the Giants. So I think it's really nice to see us, get players that are really going to help stuff the run, which is what Rakeem Nunez-Roches is going to do. So I think, he's mainly going to be rotational. I think we're probably mainly going to use him early downs when, it's a running down, and also maybe probably in a lot of goal line situations, a lot of big, 4th and 1 type of situations, things of that nature. And the third signing I want to talk about is Paris Campbell. Signed him on a 1 year, $4.7 million deal from Indianapolis. So we got 2 players from the Colts. And I think Paris Campbell, he's someone who's kind of like a speedy deep threat. I think, he's someone who last year which was his only healthy season in the league, which is a little bit of a concern. He had 600 yards, which I know. And I think he's someone who I think it's a good deal as well. I think it's only a 1 year commitment, even with his injury history. I think that's kind of important. You don't want to spend too much money, invest too much in a player who can't really stay healthy. I think he's someone where I think us being a speedy deep threat, I think that gives the Giants something they really don't have on the team. I think he kind of adds an elements to the roster, which I think is going to work really well, because I think we need all the help we can get in the wide receiver. I think just getting as much bodies in there, as much capable NFL players as wide receivers as possible, is really going to help the Giants. And I really like it. It's not a big commitment, and I think he's someone, maybe if he has a breakout year with us, then we will probably sign him long. We could sign him long term. But I do like the signing. Another one we have is Jeff Smith, who gave a 1 year, $1.2 million deal. Came from the Jets. Now he's a wide receiver, which honestly, as a wide receiver, doesn't really offer anything. He's never had a season of more than 200 yards. But I think the main reason we brought him in is because he's at special teams. He's someone who's always been a very good special teamers, which I know is not a very, flashy thing, but I think the Giants really struggled on special teams last year, and I think he's someone who could really just make our roster just based off of his special teams alone, which I wouldn't mind at all. I think, like I said, it's a position, we really need help in. Special teams was definitely lackluster, and he should help the Giants very much. And the fifth and final signing I kind of want to talk about is Bobby McCain. He's a safety from Washington, and we signed him a 1 year deal, but I know the monetary amount for that deal is not public yet, because sometimes with these contracts they don't release the amount of money it necessarily is, and all the details of the guaranteed and the bonuses, all that stuff isn't released right away. Back to Bobby McCain. I think that is like a pretty solid signing as well. I mean, I think we lost Julian Love, so I think it's something that we needed to replace, and I think Bobby McCain's someone who's going to be able to come in during this year and do that just fine. I think he's a versatile safety. I think he has someone who's a pretty similar play style to Julian Love. And I think with him, he's going to be someone who's kind of more in the free safety type of role, which is what Julian Love did. Julian Love, for the most part, was the one who stayed back in the man, in the zone coverages, deep zone coverages, made a lot of tackle stuff like that, while McKinney is more of the in the box type of safety. But yeah, I think Bobby McCain, first row linebacker, should at least temporarily replace Julian Love, because I would think that Joe Schoen's probably going to look for a young replacement. I know we drafted Dane Belton, so if he develops, or even draft another safety who can potentially and hopefully fill the role that Julian Love left us. But yeah, so those 5 signings I think were really good. Another signing we made is Darren Waller, but I mean that wasn't really a signing, that was more for trade, and I already went over, I actually made a video already about my thoughts on the Darren Waller trade, and so I'm going to put in the corner, the link's going to be in the corner at the top corner, so if you are interested in watching my reaction, watching that video, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, now I kind of want to now go on to the players that were on the roster last year that we re-signed. So we re-signed Darius Slayton, 2 year, $12 million deal. Not mad at that at all, because I think Darius Slayton, he had a solid season last year, and I think he's someone who was if you're gonna have a 3 wide receiver, 2-3 wide, someone who can be I think a 3rd wide receiver, on a solid NFL team, which I think is what we want to do. We want to continue improving this offense, continue improving the wide receiving core, and I think Darius Slayton is someone who can be in the long-term future, but at the same time it's a 2-year deal, not a very long commitment, so if it ends up not working out per se, we end up getting better receivers, it's not going to really cost us at all, it's not going to be a bunch of dead cap money, which I like. I think Darius Slayton, solid guy. Hopefully, we continue to improve that situation and that position. Next one is Matt Breida, 1 year, $1.4 million deal I mean, I think, I mean, he was solid as a backup running back. Kind of surprised we did kind of re-sign him, though. I thought, we would definitely look to maybe probably in the draft, honestly, draft, a second running back, Really help the offense, which, I mean, I think we still can do. I mean, Matt Breida, a solid, solid backup running back should help the Giants again in the next year. And then the third signing, Sterling Shepard. We signed him a 1 year, $1.3 million deal. Honestly, kind of surprised about this one. I mean, I know he's a little good locker room guy, but with his injury history, to me, it didn't really make that much sense at all to re-sign him. Now, honestly, I don't even know if he's even going to make the final roster, if I'm going to be just keep it real. But, yeah, I mean, I don't really know how I felt with that one, but, I mean, I'm not the GM, obviously. I mean, I do think Shane knows for the most part what he's doing, so I'm not going to question him too much. Third one, Jihad Ward. We sent him on a 1 year deal. Like I said earlier, for a couple of these, and, the monetary value has not been made public yet. And, I think it's a solid signing. I think Jihad Ward, he's a solid rotational edge rusher. You know what I mean? And I still think we need more rotational edge rushers. Maybe we can draft one, but at the same time, Jihad Ward should do fine for a 1 year commitment. So I think it's a good signing overall. And then, also, many of you do know, we re-signed Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley. So the two main guys in the offense are back. I made another video on that, so I'm also, going to provide you the link for that video if you would also want to watch my reaction of that as well. And now, on to, with all that out of the way, all the players we re-signed, we lost, and signed on the open market. Now I wanted to, kind of, rap about, my final thoughts and everything, kind of like what this means for the Giants moving forward. So I think, two positions that we didn't address that I still think we need to are interior offensive line, specifically center, as well as cornerback. I think, those are two very big weaknesses for our team. That's probably the two biggest, I would say, so far, as of right now. With losing Feliciano and Gates, we need a center, and I wouldn't be, definitely, like I said earlier, I definitely would not be surprised if we spend a day 2 pick, or even a day 1 pick on a center. Draft one early, hopefully make that guy the long-term starter for the Giants at center. I think he's, like Andrew Thomas, if we can get a decade-long starter in the interior offensive line, that would be a big win in my book in the draft. But I still think it's very possible as well we draft a guard as well. Probably not, early, but maybe in like the later rounds, like round 4, round 5 type of thing, who can, hopefully develop into something. Also a cornerback as well, like I said. I think, we're definitely going to look in the draft as that as well, because I think depth's an issue. I think Adoree Jackson, when healthy, he's a very capable cornerback, but outside of Adoree Jackson, I think we're lacking some real quality depth. I think maybe Moreau, he's fine. Cordell Flott still needs to develop. Darnay Holmes just isn't good. You know what I mean? I think it's still need to improve on depth in that situation. And, like I said, and I think also, this is something we're going to look at day 2, maybe even day 1 as well, to really draft a quarterback, to really be it cornerback 2 or maybe even a cornerback 1 for this team. Another thing with, the signing of, another thing I want to talk about, the signing of, Bobby Okereke. Linebackers no longer a top priority. I really thought, before this free agency, the Giants were definitely going to look into drafting a linebacker, maybe 1st or 2nd round. But I don't think that will no longer be the case. I'd be very surprised if we did. We still may, draft one in the later rounds, since, linebacker is also a position that can, provides help on special teams. But, yeah. No longer a very big issue, at least as of right now. So, very happy that we signed an actual starting caliber linebacker, because Jalen Smith, the ain't it chief. Another one is, we're signing of Paris Campbell and, the trading for Darren Waller. I think, getting a true outside weapon, I think outside weapons, wide receivers, tight ends, things like that nature, aren't as big of a need, but I still think we should look into, still getting another wide receiver. Because I think Darren Waller, when healthy, he's a legitimate number 1 target. But I still think, but that's a question that's, and still think we need to improve, because like I said, with Darren Waller, when healthy, he's someone who has a little bit of injury history, and he's also a little bit older as well. So yeah, I do think we still need to get someone younger, but like I said, it's not necessarily a priority for this year. I think, maybe we can, look at maybe draft, interior offensive linemen and draft quarterbacks early. And then maybe like the year after that, maybe like the 2024 draft is when we really go for the number one wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if we drafted a wide receiver in the first, second, or third rounds. But like I said, I don't think it's necessarily as big as a priority as it was at the beginning of this free agency. I think another thing is, we saw that with Shane, we didn't make any big signings, make any bold signings, no Kenny Gallaudays, no Nate Soldiers. I think that shows he's really, taking a slow approach to rebuilding this team, a slow, sustainable approach, which I really like. I think what you do to really build a football team is you draft your main guys, and then you kind of use free agency to kind of, supplement, pieces here and there that you need. And it looks like that's what Shane's doing, and I think that's the best way to move forward with this team to help us actually compete for a Super Bowl in the future. And and that is all my thoughts. And so I would love to hear what you guys think about free agency and everything. And so put it in the comments. And like I said, I'm going to link some of my other videos that relate to this, and I would love for you to watch those. And I wouldn't. If you like the video, I definitely would not, be upset with that. I'm a very new channel. Love to grow and really build a community of Giants fans. And as well, I also plan on, releasing another mock draft pretty soon. Kind of, a post-free agency kind of mock draft. And if you want to watch that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Like I said, thanks for watching and have a blessed day.